Hi, Aaron and Tom. Thanks for joining us. Tom, you're unmuted. Aaron, you're muted. Welcome. All right, we'll go. Okay. We'll go ahead and start with the consent item, which is October 21st, 2024 board minutes, and October 28th board meeting minutes. Any comments or motion?
I'd make a motion for approval of the consent item.
Sherry Orn will be second.
Second.
Mick Sudbury on second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and have open this meeting for public comment. I believe we have one here this evening that was up here, and introduce yourself, and this is our little sign to remind everybody to tell us and to speak loudly for our people that are online.
I'm Michelle. I live in Taylorsville, and I'm here to voice my opinion about reading the news of the proposed increased fees for next year. First of all, I'm a little bit disappointed to find out only the news of this meeting in the Taylorsville newspapers where I found out about it. And I would like to see those kinds of notices also on the billing statements that come out. And as to the increases of the parts that it says in here in this paper of $5.50 to $6.50 per month, and I calculated that as if it was up to $6.50 per month, that's $78 a year. And that comes out to roughly a 33% increase, which is disastrous, trying to make ends meet where other costs of living are already so high. So I do have a proposal in sharing or in saving costs. I do understand there's cost in the maintenance things, but I'd like to share an idea of maybe going back to picking up recycle once every other week instead to save cost.
Thank you.
That's all I have to share.
No, I really welcome you to the meeting and appreciate your voice. I'm glad that you're reaching out. And that is a proposal that we have talked about. So we appreciate that, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Is there anyone online? Okay, I'll close the public comments and we'll move on to business item number 3.1. General Manager's report. Pam?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. What I wanted to do is just take a moment and have our team introduce themselves, because no one leader does anything alone, and it has taken a team to look at the accomplishments that we have through this year and then what we want to do next year, and also putting together the tentative budget and looking at all the options to try to curb costs. So if I could just have you maybe further back, Shane.
Shane North, I'm the station for 2 years in December.
Thank you.
I'm Matt Briggs. I'm Davey Cook, operations.
Make sure you guys speak up because they can't hear you.
Thank you, Kelly. HR payroll specialist.
Evil Dunmore, HR manager.
And I'm Helen Kirk, the finance director.
We have Pam Roberts, general manager,
And Rachel Anderson, legal counsel.
well, thank you, and
Renee Platt, administrative manager.
no, you can.
Kind of renegotiated.
Thank you, all right,
Thank you.
greatly appreciate
This
that.
could not be done without all of you and your combined effort, expertise, and great attitude. So thank you so much. As a board, we want to reach out and thank all of you for doing such a great job, making our job pretty easy, right?
So we hope for.
Yep.
All right. So, our vision, a sustainable organization that provides for the welfare of our community. And our mission is to provide that sustainable, quality, integrated waste and recycling collection services for the health and safety of our community. And we've added services over the years because not everything fits in that darn can. And then our desired culture is compassion, respect, and development for employees. And I want to get into kicking off the third quarter employee satisfaction and engagement. One of the things that we have started is our Operations Excellence Committee. And it was formed in September, mainly from the frontline employees wanting to have a forum. We started this out in July with Sam Gardner, I believe. And so from there it came, and this committee was formed. Renee Plant, our wonderful administrative manager, is the facilitator of the group. And the purpose is to bring forward ideas of how to improve operations, morale, anything that we can do as a leadership team. We also, just to let you know, for benefits, we went out and put out an RFP for health insurance broker services. And we hired Alliance Insurance Services who came in, worked with us, and I want to shout out to Hazel for working so hard with these folks. It was just really nice to have a firm that's so engaged and wanting to work with us and go out there and fight for us. The result of that is we will not have any premium insurance increases going into 2025. It's so shocking. I have a hard time saying. We were at a minimum expecting a 9% increase. So as you can imagine, that's a saving to not have to have those medical insurance premiums go on. And then also Hazel Dunsmore did a great job going through our benefits and looking to see what of each, and found a package that really was not being utilized. So we will discontinue that for 2025, and that'll save $10,000 each year going forward. We have the equipment operator apprentices that we started two new folks, and we had over 20 applicants for those spots. So we have Juan and Arturo that have started, and they have already achieved their CDL with Jason Walk training. And again, this is grow your own driver and help with recruitment and retention. One of the other things that we've done as administrative staff, and it's spearheaded by Matt Ferguson, to shift over on a new timekeeping system. We made that happen October 21st, and that took all of the team to do that. Lori, our payroll technician, also was part of that. Lori McAllister. And that will save $9,000 per year going forward. And what that is we shifted over to the Excel timekeeping, and that's our database for GL, for billing, et cetera. So they have a timekeeping segment that we went over to. It's all part of that package. And then just thank you again for approving the cement work at the Fuel Island. You can see that picture right there, the beautiful drone picture that I think David Ickett took for us. Thank you, David. All right, going on. Environmental stewardship is one of our big goals, and it has been part of our goals since I started in 2007. I think prior to that, but we rolled out services so that residents have a means to divert waste away from the landfill and reuse those materials. We have a 17% diversion rate through the third quarter. And as you can see, we have almost 12,000 green waste subscribers. and 298 to have a second can. We have just over 2,000 curbside glass subscribers. We have 6 central glass sites. The average disposal fee for garbage, and this is all inclusive of all 3 landfills and, or excuse me, 2 landfills and a transfer station, of almost 35.66 per ton. The highest being at Trans Jordan, 41. And then the average processing fee for recycling is $38 per ton. And then green curbside is $17 per ton. That's going to go up next year to $20 a ton. And that's part of why we needed to increase the green waste, curbside green waste subscription fee. And then educational efforts. This is it's just a shout out to James Kelsey, Kevin Ungerer, and Trace Sondra, our quality assurance inspectors and sustainability coordinator, for looking at problem areas, if you would, that have a high contamination rate of recycling. They saw a neighborhood that had 40% contamination, really did a push for education, door to door, try to make contact. That seems to be the best thing that will improve that. So they increased that, reduced, I should say, the contamination rate from 40 to 8%. It's a 92% clean rate. That's one of the best. And I don't ever want to call anybody out, but just know that there are those areas in all of our cities, unfortunately. And then just on the left, that's an example of some of the education that James pushes out there. We have this posted on our social media, trying to reduce the use of commodities and then always recycle and reuse what we can. There's no questions, we'll keep rolling. Thank you, Renee. So third quarter customer satisfaction, wanted to make sure we shout out the improvements and also looking at billing accuracy. This is something that the team does every year. Our container supervisor will as well as container specialists go out and look for cans. So there are additional cans out there that seem to show up at residents' homes, and we don't account for them unless we go out there and try to track them down. So our carts team does a great job in looking at anything that's additional that we are not billing for. And so you can see the benefit of that for the past 2 years. It's over $11,000 increased revenue. And we'll do that again in 2025. It may not seem like a lot, but any little bit helps, I would say. Yeah. And then through the streamlining of the scrap reservation process, you can see that there's significant reduction in our web development cost of $18,000. And then I just wanted to point out Jean, who is an employee at the Draper Library. She came in the summer and brought in 60 homemade hot and cold therapy bags for her drivers. She works with the library up there and sees our truck, see the front load truck coming and going, and she just wanted to make sure that our folks were taken care of, which was really nice.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Pam, can I ask you a question? Significant reduction in web development costs. Is there an in-house person or are you contracting out for web development and maintenance?
Good question. So Renee, do you want to touch on this? There's a couple of people that are involved in this, and it's a fixed cost more than.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have we pay our vendor that helped create the brand new website for us. And Yale, our customer service manager, has learned how to do a lot of the behind the scenes things. And so that saved us a ton of money this past year. Instead of having them go in, because we calculated, we got bids from them on how much it would cost to make that calendar work good again, because you guys know, if one thing breaks a lot of stuff. And so she figured out how to make it work. And so she saved us some money right up front. And we're in the process right now of looking into possibly a less expensive type of vendor to help keep us updated with security and make sure we're still,
Do the plug-in updates and things like that.
Absolutely, keep us up to date.
And hopefully it's probably running pretty smoothly now.
It is, yeah. And she's all over it every day. She's going in, and even at midnight, during scrap season, I swear, she would wake up at midnight, go in there and just make sure that everything was, she was answering customers, via chat. So we have one dedicated employee there.
That's awesome. Thank you, Renee.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well done. Okay, moving on. go to, I know there was a lot of discussion in the last board meeting on October 28th about the landfill vouchers, so I
Real quick.
bring back,
I have a question.
oh,
Is this Lori?
Yes, it is. Sorry about that. Hey, when you were spot checking garbages of people to make sure that they don't have extra garbages, isn't that what you were just talking about a minute ago?
yes,
I knew that in our neighborhood, sometimes we'll miss one side of the street and everybody runs out and helps everybody else to pull it to the other side of the street. So sometimes all of them ends on one side of the street. We've done that a couple times in our neighborhood. Are we making sure that it has the addresses on the front and that before we charge them for it? Because I know my neighbor's gotten mine in front of their house several times when I missed the first run by.
well, yeah, no, it's definitely a check and double check to make sure that that can is at that house and being used by that particular resident. Does that make sense and help?
Yeah, that does. Thank you. I just wanted to make
You're
sure
welcome.
that, you know, they weren't getting charged for an extra can because I didn't get mine out in front of my house in time. You know what I mean?
I get it.
Yep, no, we're very careful about that. We don't want to erroneously bill anybody.
Thanks, Lori.
Okay, so again, just the landfill voucher, just showing that we can save money by controlling the distribution of those vouchers, especially using the QR code online. And then on the right side, well, the cost savings compared from last year to this year is $41,000, just over that. And then you can see the usage per municipality over on the right. No questions, we'll keep going. And then this is the operational administrative efforts to reduce costs. I think the biggest one is right there. We have our customer service folks during the quote unquote slower times that are viewing videos from when a customer calls in and reports a missed can or a missed street. They'll go in and review the video of that area to see if the customer's can is out, to see really if it is a true miss. And if it is, then we will schedule that for what we call a go back. But if it's not a true miss, we let the resident know that, sorry, your can wasn't out, or no, we did dump your can and we can't come back and do it again. So that will reduce our miles traveled for unnecessarily going back. About $150,000 is what we have to estimate on that. The other thing with go back is that if we have one single report of a go back, but yet we may have a missed street on the same day or vice versa, we're now making sure that even if it's a missed street, we're not going to go back the next day. We will put it back on the go back schedule. And what that means is that we will go back, let's say we have an area in Mill Creek that we collect on Tuesday, another area that we collect on Friday. So obviously those two areas, we're not going to go back until it's a Tuesday or a Friday. That makes sense. And then for Kearns and Magna, we would go back when we're in Taylorsville Thursday. We just try to make sure that we're as efficient as possible. And then for increasing recycling tons per load, we do know that we can pack a little more on the trucks. So in doing so, Fiona and David have estimated that even if it's just quite a quarter of a ton or a little less than that, we're anticipating the savings of $65,000 a year with fewer trips and miles traveled. At about $12 a mile fully loaded, you can imagine anything we can do, saving miles, that's our biggest cost reduction. And then balanced workflows to reduce any kind of off district travel. Again, similar to what we talked about with Go Back. We're anticipating about a $25,000 annual savings. We'll keep an eye on that. And then redesigning the computer replacement schedule that we have for administrative staff. Cascading older computers back down to folks that may not be as dependent on those. We'll save about $3,500 a year just this year.
That's great.
Keep doing that going forward. And if there's no questions, that's my report.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Little by little, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a total of dollars saved on just all those measures that you guys are taking so far?
If we have a calculator, we can go back on.
I'm curious, it's nice to see a big
Yeah.
like shebang with all the
Yeah.
effort that's been put into that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, it's important too that even if you think, oh, it's only $3,500, every dollar is efficiency
Yeah.
that you have to, the effort, as long as it's not costing 4,000 to save us 3,000,
Yeah.
then it makes sense to look at those efficiencies.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Hey, Larry.
Okay.
Job well done.
Hey.
Hey, Lori.
Made it.
Okay, Pam, Hazel, and Helen are gonna discuss the paid time off policy that we are going to discuss tonight.
All right, I'll kick it off and then I'll turn it over to Helen and Hazel. This is one of the things that, I've been wanting to do for years. The vision was to do it after we left Salt Lake County, but we just had too many competing priorities. And then with, staff turning over, this seems to be the perfect time because we have other municipalities that have gone from 2 separate sick leave, vacation, and do a combination to PTO. It makes sense for us and there's, like I said, the 2 separate balances that are accrued every year. They're a nice benefit for our employees. However, they're very clunky and sometimes it's hard for employees to even know what they have. And trying to keep track of sick leave and vacation. Just an FYI for this vacation, the cap is 320 hours per year. And Helen and Hazel will get into the accruals down below, what they currently are, and then what we're proposing going forward. So in looking at this, I had asked Lori McAllister and Hazel to start looking at other municipalities' models. Lori was able to get in touch with Cotler Heights, Taylorsville City, and then Helen coming in, let us know about Sandy City's model. We looked at West Valley City as well, just to try to find the one that would fit us and would be tailored to our employees' needs, and then also trying to reduce liabilities going forward. The biggest liability is that sick leave. There is no cap. And so employees that have been employed for decades are, and I think our highest accrual, if my memory serves me correctly, is about 1,400 hours. And so the only way that employees can use sick leave is one, if they use that day, it's used at 100%, or if there's a bank that saved up policy that we kept with us, that an employee who retires from the district cash that out at 25% of the value. So I'm hoping that makes sense. Again, the model that we have, I think, has been tailored and really benefits the district in the long run with reducing our liability. And then with the employee, trying to still give them a healthy benefit, but yet maybe not quite as much of a liability, if you would. Okay, so Helen and Hazel, whichever one of you is gonna, are you gonna tag team?
As you can see there, we have listed what our current vacation accruals are. And these go up every 8 years. So right now it's 3.7. After 8 years, year 9 goes 5.4, and then year 17 and above 7.39. Our sick leave also accrues at 3.7. There is no increase on that. It remains the same as long as you've been working here. So the new accruals, what we're proposing is that the vacation is 1-for-1. So 3.7 hours still, depending on how many years you've been with the district. With the sick leave, we're proposing that the accrual, the new accruals would be 50% of 3.70, which is 1.85 hours. So we'll combine those together for the amount that an employee would earn every pay period, depending on how long they've been here. So the goal is to shorten the number of years that it takes to move to the next year. And so that is on the next page. And then increase the vacation leave cap, which is now 3.8, as your rules increases, then you. Wow. The overtime and have that sheet. Just recently at, Sandy City. So, valuable insight how to do that.
Okay. Well, you can see the first table there that Hazel kind of mentioned. That's kind of just a snapshot of how we designed the PTO program. She did mention that we are trying to reduce the number of years it takes to go from tier to tier. So we went from an 8-year, moving through the tiers at every 8 years to every 5 years. And that's the part with the yellow highlight in there. The PTO accrual, as Hazel mentioned, would be everything that you're getting for vacation plus half of sick leave. So that's 5.6 hours per pay period for the first 5 years, 7.5 hours per pay period for the next 5 years, and then starting on day 1 of your 11th year, it would be 9.5 hours per pay period. And with that, we're proposing that those caps, as Pam mentioned, right now, we have a cap for vacation of 320 hours. And what that means is that if an employee has more than 320 hours in their vacation accrued bank at December 30th of every year, or 31st rather of every year, the difference between the 320 and what they have goes away. They lose that difference. And so it's capped at 320 hours. What we would like to do is, as an employee moves from tier to tier, have that cap also increase. So for the first 5 years, it would still be 320 hours. The next 5 years would be 350 hours, and then 380 hours is the math for the last year. And the reason for that is because now they're getting a little bit more, that 1.85 per pay period in their accrual. So we want to give them a little more time to be able to do that. That next table, and I do want to mention there's a note here that the tiered cap was a request by one of the employees. Excuse me. The next table is the liabilities as they stand now. Currently, we have 19,000 hours of sick leave in accrued bank and 12,000 hours of vacation in accrued bank, which totals $1.2 million of accrued leave. We do have a calculation on the right, and we then calculate 25% of sick leave, which is $192,000.65. And that's because Pam already mentioned that our current policy is to pay out if somebody retires from the bridge, to pay out 25% of their unused sick leave balance.
What do you do with the unused vacation?
Unused vacation just accrues and holds in the bank unless they hit that 320-hour cap.
What if they retire or quit?
Oh, they get 100% of that paid out to them. Whatever their balance at the time that they retire, it's paid out
At the cap.
no, it's whatever their balance is. Yeah, whatever they accrue.
So their vacation continues to accrue.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So at December 31st, if I get cut back to 320 and then I start accruing again, whatever balance that is, the 320 plus whatever I accrued at the time that I leave, that would be paid out. Okay, so the question kind of became, how are we going to manage this conversion for current balances? So for vacation balances, it's pretty easy. It would convert to PTO on an hour-per-hour basis. 1 hour vacation equals 1 hour PTO. And then we had one that's a little bit more complicated, and that's the conversion of current sick leave balances. Of course, everybody knows that sick leave is provided for employees during the times of illness, injury, or medical necessity, and it's really intended solely for health-related purposes. Sick leave at Woodford is only paid out under health-related circumstances, or if an employee retires from Woodford, at which point they would get that 25% payout of their unused leave benefit. We do have a number of employees, or several employees, who've been rather good stewards of their sick leave, and they thank a lot of sick leave. At the time I calculated it, which was about 2 pay periods ago, we had 5 employees who had more than 1,000 hours, which is pretty low. And I feel like that's probably looking at retirement from Woodford and looking for that $25 or 25% payout at retirement. We have another, well, 6 employees who have between 500 and 1,000 hours, and then between 100 and 499 hours of sick leave. We have 27 employees, and everybody else is below that 100-hour mark. So what we're proposing to do going forward is freezing unused sick leave balances. So no additional hours would be added to those unused sick leave balances. And then from there, we'd like to allow employees to have the opportunity to choose one of 3 options. The first is just to convert 25% of their current sick leave balance to PTO straight across. That we would not allow them to exceed their respective cap, whatever tier that they're in. And that would be an immediate benefit to them, of course, because it would be available for them to use for any purpose, much as sick leave. And then the remainder of the sick leave would no longer be available. The second option would be to convert, would be to convert 25% of the current sick leave balance up to 25% of the current sick leave balance to PTO up to the cap that they're in for their respective tier, and keep the remainder of the 25% that wasn't converted and have it paid out on retirement. Yeah.
So that 25% that's converted is kind of the one for one. If it converts
Yeah.
25% converts that 1 hour sick leave because it's 1 hour PTO,
Yeah.
they can only do 25% on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Just make sure.
Yeah, so if I have 1,000 hours, I'm converting 250 hours. I think that's full 250 hours.
Yeah.
All right, and then keep the remainder of the 25% that wasn't converted, have it paid out upon retirement from Woodford, which is a higher benefit, meaning it's both an immediate and a delayed benefit. And in this case, also, the remaining sick leave is no longer available. And the third option is to keep the full frozen balance of sick leave. They would be able to use it strictly for FMLA purposes, if that's unfortunately been wrote, and then cash out 25% of the remaining balance on retirement from Woodford, which of course is a delayed benefit, and it's the only option for the remainder of sick leave is available to you, and then only for FMLA purposes. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so I'm confused about 1 versus 2. Why would I take 1 instead of 2 when I get, if I take 2, it seems like it reads I get 50% versus 25%. Is that wrong?
That is wrong. What it is, both of them are only 25% of the balance. So with number 1, you should take it straight 25% for the PTO and be done with it.
Right.
Under number 2, we still calculate your 25%, but only a portion of that would go into PTO. The remainder of the 25% that we calculated would be held for you to cash out at retirement. And that's something that I might do if I'm going to go over my cap if I convert my full 25%, but I still want that retirement benefit, but I also want that PTO converted in. So that's something I would do if I was going over my cap.
Okay. So can I verify that I heard what I think I heard?
Lori from Salt Lake County.
Yeah, sorry. So I think what I heard is that with between the 25%, that we're taking up to 25%, correct? Okay, but I misheard. Tell me again. I want to make sure I understand this.
For number 1 and number 2,
Right.
we're calculating 25% as a sick leave.
Yes, I got that.
The resident at 75% is no longer available.
Understood.
So the question is what to do with that 25%. In number 1, the full 25%, would just be converted straight into PTO.
Okay.
For number 2, I could convert up to 25%, so I might convert half of that.
Okay.
12.20. Okay, I was going to say.
You were on the same page.
And then the remaining 12.5% that I had would be held for me for retirement from Woodford to be cashed out as soon as I retire.
Okay.
That's the difference.
So we can adjust where we want to take the 25%, and we're going to say, so they could actually say 10% and.
Because I was just reading it like,
When it's
same expenses for here and then you 25, I don't understand why you take it up. Got it.
Yeah.
I can see what, yeah, okay.
Yeah, really good.
And that's another, the number 2 conversion option is another option that one of our employees actually brought forward and had the idea to do that. Yeah, I think it was pretty good. I'm gonna provide that.
Okay. I'm not reading it correctly. I just realized how it was written and why I was misreading it. We're good. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, we're looking at streamlining, the leave system. Hopefully it'll be, simpler for both the employee and for their managers to track. And then, we touched on this already, but the next little section talks about how the length of time has been here. Instead of every 8 years, now every 5 years, but that amount will go up. To a maximum of 380 hours.
What's the cost associated to the district?
We actually don't have, it's really difficult to calculate a real cost associated with it. The actual is going to be a saving. And for one thing, the liability will eventually really reduce because on that table we have the highlights of the cost. You can see we have $1.2 million of liability calculated out for all the leave that's been approved. And where we're cutting out half of the sick leave accrual, that'll draw that down. People will be using their PTO because of the cap. They're going to be wanting to use that PTO, and that keeps that liability down as well. In addition to that, I did calculate that employees who use more than half of their accrued sick leave during a year will experience a cut in benefit because we're including in the accrual 1/2 of the current sick leave accrual. However, employees who use less than that sick leave, they're good stewards of their sick leave, and they use less than half their accrued amount for a year, will actually benefit because that half is now going into PTO, which is going to be paid to them regardless of what happens, unless it falls on because they don't use their vacation during the year. But I calculated for fiscal year 24 that employees who use more than half of their sick leave accrual for the year so far have cost for $155,000. That's the portion that's over half of their accrual. So that's $155,000 if we had the PTO fund in place at the beginning of this year, but we would not have. So that is one calculation that I can show you that is an actual savings that I can calculate. Very difficult to quantify the savings, but that is definitely for sure amount.
Because a lot of it depends on when they take it and how they take it,
That's exactly right.
or if they take it.
Okay.
Greg?
Question, Greg. So the $1.2 million where you're talking about all the vacation and sick time, is that already calculated in our budget as expected wages, or was potentially an additional number that is going to?
That is an additional liability. That is an amount that
That we don't necessarily see on the budget,
right.
when they use it, or if we have to pay it out in whole or at a percentage.
Right.
This is gonna be something additional.
And I will tell you that we have a gap statement coming up for fiscal year 25, or we actually have in fiscal year 24, where we do make an entry, and the entry to a liability for the offset to that entry will be in the operating statement. I don't know if that will be yet. That is not a cash item,
Right.
Right.
but it will be.
It would be good to definitely at least know that it's there and see that it's there. So,
So we do account for it.
good, yeah, appreciate it.
And what we have done in the past is look at about 10% of the overall personnel budget as that liability. I think it's been about that 1.2,
Okay, so it's
maybe a little
fairly
lower.
close then.
It actually would be a little lower, it'd be more like the sick leave, I believe, is the part that we look at as liability. But it's also combined with the OPEB. So that particular liability has come down quite a bit from, when we changed the OPEB in 2019, that cut it in half from 2 million to 1. And that's even come down more as people have gone on Medicare, those that were retirees, right? And then, so that's come down, I believe, $600,000. OPEB alone, and then liability that would be here. Before the next sort of what that amount would be. Threw out a number and I don't think it was correct, so I apologize.
Any other questions, comments? Sherry?
Liz Church, I'm here. The only other issue, concern I have on raising the cap, I totally understand why an employee would ask for that, but I'm always of the opinion it's important to take vacation. It's not intended to be a retirement. It's intended to be a vacation so that they are alleviated from the stress of work and things like that, right? You know, burnout, those types of things. So I hate seeing those caps continually increase when the intent is to take a vacation. If we need to say, well, we need to divert more into retirement funds, and let's talk about that. But I just feel like it just encourages people to use that as a retirement fund, and they know full well that they have 100%, rather than be alleviated from some of the stresses at work for a time, because that's what vacation's for. Thank you.
I agree.
Keith, Western from Brighton.
Yeah, thank you. Just running the current numbers, this is what I was just working on, so I'm just a brand new guy. I'm in the 0 to 8. So as it stands right, the current vacation for my first year, I get, converting the hours, I get 12 days vacation. And I also get 12 days of sick leave.
Currently.
So as you move to the plan, at 145 hours, that, brings, where's my number here? I'm now 18, both of 18 hours of PTO. So in theory, a lot of 6 hours of.
Yeah.
And yes, I understand we're balancing between encouraging people to take time off, because the PTO can be used as sick or leave, but I'm just well, I'm not really concerned, but I'm just looking at it from Joe employee. Sure. Right off the bat, I'm losing 6 hours.
Yeah.
6 days of leave, either leave or sick leave, depending upon whatever their issues are. And again, that we're looking at, I'm up to 195 hours, breaking that down, just now getting to even than where I am now. So I don't know, has this been, I hate to make a decision on current employees and future employees and whether or not how this impacts. I know it may be easier to manage, but what is my impact on the actual district employee?
Yeah, you are correct. It is a reduction. And one of the things that I will thank you for is that you have been very generous with your compensation. One of the messages that I've heard is that you have been generous with wages, and we have a very generous benefit package. And I would say that our leave accrual is very generous as well. And it's not that I want to take that away. I'm just wanting to manage our liability. And also make sure that we have enough employees here, yes, taking time off, but still having enough people here to fill the seats to get the work done. And I can say with the sick leave, it is problematic. Not for every employee, because obviously there are those that have been good stewards, right? So why not reward them and let's have that available for them for what they've intended to be, want it to be. For others that have earned and burned, I'm thinking that this is going to help that. I also think that it's going to be a lot easier to manage for employees and in managers. We have employees that run out of their sick leave, so they have to request from me to use their vacation time in lieu of sick. And then obviously if they need more vacation time, they can't use the sick, that's the policy. And we have had a couple of those cases where somebody their family's gonna go on a 2-week cruise and they don't have enough vacation. This will fix that in those cases and help those employees. Yes, I do recognize it is somewhat of a reduction. But I also know there's only so much money in the pot, and so I'm trying to be a good steward with that while still taking care of employees. I feel like this is still a nice benefit. And I'll be honest, I was having a hard time with this tiers going up, but at the same time, to your point, we are reducing somewhere, so maybe we can increase for those that are here longer. Maybe this would be a good incentive for retention.
I
And
didn't miss anything today.
we'll just repeat it all,
I'm
Chris.
so tired. I went to the wrong
Thank you
waste
for coming.
district.
The different.
Oh, no.
You didn't go, because I wasn't here. Oh, I got it.
So Keith, to your point, you're right, this is a reduction for employees, and I feel like historically there was this accrual of sick leave to help those that might have to take some short-term leave for health reasons. But there is some provisions for short-term and long-term disability. And so I feel like that we can use the sick leave, the PTO for, the PTO for the sick leave and the vacation, and yet they're still covered for that short-term and long-term disability. And as I reached out to other municipalities, I feel like we're right in line with what's about average. Some of them capped at 420, some of them capped at 340. And so I feel pretty good about where we are as far as the cap. And really, to Sherry's point, is it sick leave, or if it really shouldn't be used as a retirement program. And now they do have this backup for long-term or short-term, disability.
It'll be frozen, so it won't grow, right? More liability as it grows, so that will be a plan as well. I've been very transparent with staff. And I feel like it's gonna be easier for employees to know the score and for managers to be able to manage and allow people to have their time off. And we would still have policies in place for folks that are continually calling in, right? So it's maybe PTO, but it's still calling in and creating disruption for our team if it's a pattern, right? So we'll still have those policies to make sure that we address performance if people are abusing or appear to be. I hear your point.
Greg?
If I may, Greg, Shelton Lexington. One thought I had was first question, what is the general consensus of the staff? Because I know that for me, if I take vacation, there's nobody that backs me up. The work piles up. For a lot of these drivers, that's got to get covered by another employee. So effectively, you're paying somebody twice. When one employee takes time off, somebody else has got to either step up, either getting overtime and bringing somebody else to take the shift. Obviously, I'm sure you have people that are staff that are like me, where that work's going to sit there until they come back. Probably not as many, but what are the employees saying right now about this idea of switching to this with their temperature?
I would say it's mixed. For newer employees, then we do have a high percentage of frontline staff that are new. So for them, they're not gonna see or feel a big difference other than, oh, I got PTO now.
Yeah.
All combined vacation, that maybe they'll be able to take more of that. And then we have other folks that are more concerned and they see it as a reduction. And so for that, I'm very happy to visit with each and every one of the folks that have a concern. Again, I think our staff understand that there's only so much money in the pot. And we've given a lot to wages, as you know, and I appreciate that very much because it has helped, it has paid off with recruitment and retention.
Anyone else?
I'll be honest, I think there's a gaining back of some of that though, with the caps. Because I can carry more over as I have more years here, right? So I'm now able to carry that over. yes, there's a lot, maybe that's more than you let, okay, before, but our cap wasn't changing, now it is. I've been here 7 years, all of a sudden I actually have the 30 hours I can out, carry, which I couldn't do before. So that's a huge change, right? That was you've been here much longer than that. It's a right change.
Sure, and it creates, sorry, this is Sherry, it creates flexibility, like you were saying, rather than having to go, oh, I'm out of sick or I'm out of vacation, it's just off PTO.
Yeah, and then to address your question about staffing. So we have a relief pool of drivers, right? So they're actually, our drivers work 4-10. And we have a pool of drivers that will fill in for those folks that are on vacation. And then we have that rotating day off, right? So our drivers get a 4-10 weekend, or excuse me, a 4-day weekend every 5 to 6 weeks, I think it is, plus time off. So yeah, we have to have a good relief pool to make sure we keep covered.
Are they getting, they're getting paid, I mean, or do you staff at a level comparable to what you need based on PTO, or how do you keep them busy?
The relief pool
Yeah.
when there's staff here?
When so your relief pool when other drivers that are taking PTO or sick, how do you, because I'm assuming you're paying them to be on call, or are you paying them, they're
No.
working?
They're basically on schedule. So for every, I'm trying to remember those pools and those numbers, and somebody in the gallery can help me, David. But I believe our relief pool is right around 7.
Yes, if you're 7.
Yeah, so yeah, so they go out on route, and if we have, everybody's here and nobody's called in or is on vacation, which is really rare. But there are those times that we may have 2 extra drivers, and so we definitely have things that they can help out with.
Okay, so they
Yeah.
can fill in anywhere else they're needed,
If-
but primarily they're all around.
Yeah, if we're lucky enough, yeah.
Yeah.
to have-
Pick up the broken can,
Ultimately,
pick out the can, the,
Or go over to scrap if it's that season.
yeah. So I think the discussion is, if we feel like we want to move forward with this PTO, then which one of these options do you feel most comfortable with moving forward?
So I will, if I could interrupt the table. The employee will have some options.
Oh, gotcha.
On how they want to convert it. So they do have some choice in that process.
Wanted to give them some way in. And so really what I guess we need from you as staff is direction to comfortable with the tiered accruals and caps, I guess it's called. One, and then are you okay with we move forward and actually put this in policy format and bring it back in December for you to adopt? This was mainly an outline so that you could see the why and where we are as far as liability. And then really freezing that liability, taking it from, if it's 100% sick leave used, it's 700K, and if we freeze it, it's about 192.
We go back to the funding of the liability as an operation expense. Would that be the best way to provide mechanism to fund it? Is there a different way you guys could plan ahead for retirements?
Well, there's not another option to offset a journaling that we have to do every year. We have legal restrictions on how much we can actually accrue in liability. So we really don't have a lot of leeway there. At Sandy, we had a little bit of leeway because we had several funds and we had governmental funds, and so we were able to do an internal serving fund to have savings for that. And that, we're an interstitial enterprise fund. And so we hold our own liability.
So if you have 10 staff retire all the same year, it'll be a heavy year
Right.
versus taking full amount and distributing it over, call it a 30-year duration where you're
Yeah.
staggered. So there's no way to fund the savings account for this.
I don't believe we can really find it like in another fund, like another entity would if we had governmental fund. But I mean, we could maybe do something with fund that with our next position somehow. We could turn it position in some way, and designate it for that purpose.
More restricted.
Well,
So,
I think special districts have to be careful though. They don't have the same rules and regulations that you
Right.
can for a city, right?
Right.
And so, I don't know of any special district that has been able to do that. I know we're
either.
Yeah,
Just the OPEB, they can just the retirees insurance, I think that's
That's it.
restricted.
yeah, that's restricted. That the only reason that's restricted is the state law. There's an ordinance on that. That's why you can do that one specifically and it's called out. I think because we can only bank so much as an entity, and that is also called out by law. So you can, and for an organization like this, it would make sense, although we don't fully fund what we can bank. So if we decided we wanted to call someone, put it aside, I guess you could do that and use a portion of that to say that we're setting this aside for that future, whatever. That it, you can't, this board can't find a future board and say that's what you're gonna use this for, right? And so, that would be difficult. I don't know how you could do that. And I know we've looked at it sometimes, or I've looked at it, so. I'm looking to you.
I know.
Not
really sure. I'm not familiar with it.
This is my 27th year in special district, and I've yet to see it be done or able to be done, so.
Well, and I guess this is the point of taking a look at this PTO so that whoever is in a state spot, should you have a few more than 3 people retire at the same time and not wipe out everything that's in the fund balance. And I think this is one reason why we're looking at it, but that's a really good question. I concur with that.
But you can call out portions of your budget specifically for that as a line item. Because you know you can do that. You can call it, you can literally call it, a delayed benefit. And it's kind of what you refer to, where you could call it out specifically for that and the special note that that's what this money is being held for. And it may not be the full portion, because we can only withhold up to what we're allowed to withhold total, and we don't withhold the total amount, So technically we could, some of it anyway, and that might offset some of that liability dump. So think about it, an organization, and we could, I guess, fund some of that each year.
I was gonna say that'd be a new decision each year though, to.
Yeah, how much are you able to fund it? Yeah. And that would have to be a determination is to look at our budget, because we're tight now.
Yeah.
So where do you spend that?
Any other comments? So is everyone comfortable proceeding? Or you have other ideas? We'll take a vote on it, or I'll take a motion. This is just a motion to proceed down this road with the PTO.
And so we included there the tiers. I want to make
The
sure
tiers.
that you all are okay with increasing, because right now the cap on vacation is 320, no cap on sick. So this would be a PTO cap. And then again, the number of years that an employee is here, 0 to 5, 320 is the max. 6 to 10, 350 max, and 11 plus years is 380.
Maybe just when we say it that way, really, I guess, and I stick with my original comment. I always wanted to make sure that we don't increase capital people use it as retirement, but in actuality, it is somewhat of a cap reduction because there's no cap on sick,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So to bump those up kind of compensates for the lack of capital on sick.
Yeah.
That's fine with that. Sounds like it's fair compliment.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, so maybe I understand this, we're directing staff to bring this to us in a policy format
Correct.
for the next meeting, for us then to make the final determination.
Yeah.
So I make that motion.
Okay. So that motion by Keith Suffren and the second by Lori. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that motion passes to proceed with the PTO and have that written up in policy, and we'll take a look at that and we'll vote on that in December. Okay, adoption, 3.3, adoption of amendments to the HR policy sections on separation from employment. And we're just, again, cleaning all of this up. So Pam and Hazel.
Our separation from employment previously, is all of the text that's in black font. And so we had some gaps that we needed to fill in for separation of employment. Some of this deals with noticing from executive staff how many, weeks we need from an executive staff member and the preference that we would prefer. And then basically resigning in lieu of involuntary separation we've added. And then please note on 9.37.3, rather than saying termination proceedings, and then down below it also says termination, we will change that to separation proceedings and then involuntary separation going forward. And then we had nothing in our policy to deal with any kind of a need for reduction of force. So if we had budgetary restrictions, if we needed to do a reorganization and maybe take a position out, or if there's a lack of work, things of that nature, we had nothing in there. We also have nothing in policy for a hiring freeze, even though I have done that, in a tight budget year. I'll say it's a soft freeze, and managers, you need to give me proof or request for filling a vacancy, things of that nature. So that's the language that is in here. And Hazel, do you want to add anything else?
No, I think you covered all.
The first one on it said, ask the appointed employees to give 3 weeks notice. It sounds like that's a suggestion, not quite, it's not really enforceable.
Yeah. Right.
I've not like courtesy. I personally hate that kind of language in policy. For sure, if it's legislation, I say take it out.
Yeah.
But if it's a policy, make it somewhat enforceable rather than. An industry standard is always a 2 week. When they're hired as in an executive role, I would think that you would convey that to them in a hiring mode that you say, this is the policy. This is what we'd like to see. Anyway, I hate the kind of like policy. It's too vague. It's like, oh, we'd love.
So I'm assuming because sometimes it happens that executives actually have a contract when they come on, so it actually lays it out in their contract. Do you have a contract? I'm not sure.
I do not, and that's one of the discussions when we left.
Very important that we have a policy that.
I'd be a contracted employee with any appointed staff being contracted, and have not done that. That's certainly something that you as a board could adopt as policy, that executives are contracted, and that's not common.
No,
from what I understand.
But I was asking because it's very common. You actually have a contract for an executive, and I'm actually surprised you don't have.
Our city manager does it, but most of our city managers do.
Yeah. You do. No. Okay.
I think it's a good idea. It's definitely good, but.
Thank you, Rachel. Any other comments, questions?
Would you like us to strike out that 9.3?
It's my pet peeve. It's not you all. It's like it's a policy. It's just a suggestion, and it's like, so is it a policy that they should be doing this or not? I don't know. Those are always my pet peeves on. It's really not legislation. It's just policy. I understand it.
Yeah, it's more of almost less legislative and more a employment HR handbook of best practices.
Exactly. So it's not a big.
I don't think it's harmful, I don't think, but
Yeah. No, I have to
An
require.
unnecessary word.
I like the word require.
I don't know about that. But
But that's why, I don't know how you work it out. That's what would be nice in a contract, because in a contract, you could require, and if they didn't give that, then there would be, you know, penalties associated with not giving the truck a million. But this is exactly just more of a, please do this. So I'm not, it's fine.
Okay.
there are these.
Exactly.
Yeah, whatever.
But you don't have to pay them that if they don't give you their notice or things like that.
And then if it's okay, I will move 9.37.7 to the very top where an employee may be separated from employment for any reason permitted by law and in accordance with the district's personnel policies and procedures adopted by the board of trustees. That is kind of towards the end. That seems to make more sense if you plug it in the spot.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So do you skip to number 3?
Yeah, shift the number.
Skip the number.
Good to adopt a revision?
Yes, do we need a motion for that?
Yes.
Yes,
A
we
motion
do.
to adopt those revisions?
Awesome. Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Oh. Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. And appreciate that. We're tweaking ours in the city all the time, and my apologies, cleaning up is not a good word for this because it doesn't need cleaning up, just tweaking on that. Okay, review of the 2025 tentative budget presentation and fee schedule. Pam, we'll turn that over to you with Helen.
All right. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I know that we did lose our resident from Taylorsville that was here, unfortunately. But we do have another from Mill Creek. Jeff Hatch is right in the back here. Thank you for coming. And so we'll just do a quick review of the budget and then we'll get into any public comment. So if it's all right, Helen, I'll do the narrative and then turn for the dollars and cents to you. So as we've discussed and we tentatively adopted the budget going forward into 2025, what we're listening to the kind of public comment, that is $6.50 per home per month increase, moving from $19.50 per home per month to $26 per home per month. And as Michelle, our resident from Taylorsville mentioned, that is a $70 per year increase. So it will go from $58.50 per quarter to $8, and then annually it's been $234, and it'll move up to $312 annually. And one of the things that I have talked about and that Helen and I are exploring is the thought of more frequent billing, trying to help residents deal with that. Because as you know, we bill in the rears on a quarterly basis. We're not sure if we can do anything in 2025 as far as more frequent billing, but it's certainly something we want to explore and bring back to you as a board. One of our great resources is the Mount Olympus Improvement District with Steve Brower, who is their controller. And they were instrumental when we separated the resource for us to look at how do we do this with the district and our own organization. So I have a feeling that Steve will be instrumental in going forward with y'all for planning. So as you know, the services that we provide and are included in that residential fee are illustrated in pictures off to the right. And weekly garbage and recycling collection, seasonal container reservation, that's scrap, mid-April through September. Seasonal services with central leaf bag going on right now, and curbside Christmas tree. Can return or replacement is one that we do frequently, and you saw in 2023, we expended $1.1 million for that. A lot of that is can purchases to do the repairs and also for new builds, and we do charge a fee for a new build coming in to upfront pay for those cans, which does help offset that cost. The landfill vouchers that you're familiar with, and it's a very popular program, and 6 sites for central glass collection, community education and relations. And additional services, we talked about the trailer rental, and we have increased that. The 18-yard trailer rentals for bulk waste will go from $190 to $240. The green waste, another 18-yarder, It's gonna go from 55 to 80, and those will help pay for those tipping fees, and processing fees for green. We're gonna add the option for a roll-off, 14-yard roll-off container to be rented at a price of $175, is what we discussed. And then we'll use existing drivers because we're just not quite sure how many renters we get. And then we're gonna increase, as I mentioned, the curbside greenway subscription, $1.50 per home, or excuse me, per subscription, not prescription. From $10.50 to $12 a month. And there's no increase for the subscription black. And
For
with
the
that, I
green, for the green prescription,
yeah,
do they pay in the month that there's no collection?
it's quarterly, so yeah, bottom line is they would pay like for March, they're gonna pay for January, February, and March. And it doesn't start till mid-March, so in April, they'll get the bill for all 3 months into the years.
So if you, let's say you moved in at the beginning of that quarter where there's no service and you ordered a green, you would, I mean, you just have to pay it.
No, this
Without-
is new coming in March.
Or coming in November or December, I guess, or whenever, where there's no service. So let's say I just moved to Cotton Heights in December. I call Wabash Front to get all of my bins ordered and kind of set up an account. And I ordered green, but you would be charged immediately without any service for a couple of months.
Signing up, recharge for the can, the startup fees, including the can. And then it would just be, yeah, mainly part of that quarterly bill going forward. So yes, you would pay for months that you're not receiving.
Okay, that just seems odd to me, but I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, but in your scenario,
Throughout the year.
I think
Understood,
I think
understood.
you're talking January through December anyway, but what if you had a partial quarter? Do you, for the service, is that prorated or no?
Yes,
It is still prorated at the moment, depending on, so if you moved in toward the end of that quarter, you wouldn't pay for that full quarter or something.
But the way we're calculating green is annual, right? Here's how much it costs, so we're gonna bill you every quarter to cover the annual. cost, right?
correct.
Or that monthly fee.
Understood.
Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the personnel highlight. And we mentioned there's no increase for our health insurance premium. And we're gonna continue on with the 80-20 split for the premium share. And then coming into 2024, we have just increased the deductible for the traditional program, or excuse me, traditional plan from 500 and 1,000 to 750 and 1,500. And then the high deductible, we pay 100% of that premium, correct? Yeah. And then the wages include the salary market adjustment that you approved in August. Going forward, and next year, that is just over $371,000 included in that. And then again, that's if we have all positions filled, right? And we usually are underspent in the personnel line item. You have tentatively adopted a 4% cost of living adjustment, as well as a 2% annual increase on employee's anniversary. And then a lump sum for anybody that's at the top of the range. And then, of course, the Woodward University that Hazel is spearheading, and I want to thank her for that. And then continued employee recognition and awards going forward, and you can see the categories there. And then we want to implement the paid time off going forward, and then you can see the retirement benefits from URF that have not changed from this year. Going forward into the operational highlights, we talked a lot about what we're working on to reduce miles travel, and we'll be monitoring that closely going forward. And then the safety awareness and emergency preparedness, you know, Shane Norris that introduced himself, he's instrumental in providing training and support for our team to reduce our accidents, incidents, and injury. Our workers' comp has improved. The EMOD, experience modification rating, has improved. And I would shout out to our team and especially to Shane for taking that leadership role. And then, of course, we want to be prepared for any kind of emergency or disaster, so we continue on those training. And then the option of the roll-off container for rental. And then we want to, next year, we're planning on replacing that road that's going back to the south yard. That's a shared cost. Works operation, flood control and fleet. So our portion is just over 72,000. So I'm glad we're gonna get into the numbers because I think I'm running out of gas now. So please, take it over.
Well, you did report the tentative budget that you approved we adopted rather in the last October meeting, the week. And I will just explain the columns again in case if somebody knew. That first column of actual 2023 is the actual revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year 2023. The adopted budget for 2024 is met. The estimated revenues and expenditures through the end of 2024 are in that third column of dollar amount. And that is the basically estimated through December 31st. And then the proposed budget is the next column for 2025, and the last column is the percent of each expenditure line item of the total expenditure budget. I'll just point out that the charter for services does include that $6.50 fee increase that we're proposing. And the billable expenses, personnel expenses include the 4% COLA to and that amount that we had for the equipment operators in the office and deflation. And it also considers the fact that fuel is we're assuming a 3% fuel increase, 5% for maintenance. Most expenditures we're assuming 3 to 4% on increases. I have included the $10,000 for the container roll-off. Fees that will be charged with the increased regional fund authority that we discussed, I think, last time.
That's right.
That's for the storage of those. The storage of
Yes.
those, yes. And then the 72,000 that Cam just mentioned for the pavement replacement is also included in the line for the shared variable shared cost. So that's kind of the highlight of what's going on in the budget. Are there any questions? We do have at the bottom our capital.
We have a question.
Just one.
Robert Chignon.
For illustration, on the recycling fee. The number for 2025 is almost $500,000 less. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so the year-to-date, that we have paid, estimated current year. Let me get to my copy right here in front of me. So is 1.4, am I looking at the right?
Yep.
Yep, okay. So the year-to-date for recycling fees is actually. Yeah.
We got the 1.4 estimated to the end of the year.
Oh, estimated.
In what we have budgeted for 2025. I believe that would take $50.
Right, so we are, I think this 1.4 that we've estimated for this year is high, if I remember right. Yeah, it's not an actual.
It started to come down again.
Yeah. Now, OCC, excuse me, or cardboard has kind of taken a little hit in the market. However, paper is somewhat offsetting that, and plastic is doing a little better right now. So we're just keeping an eye on that. Fiona and James really watch those markets and talk to our vendors quite a bit, making sure that they're in line with what the market is going. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up. We did budget 55%.
Thank you. One, I'd like the cookie recipe. Those are really good. Second, I'm looking at wages here. So looks like in a 2-year period of time, we're estimating near the 3.6 million in increase in, I guess it's not, I should just say wages, I apologize. Personnel expenditure. So walk me through that. That's a pretty hefty amount in a 2-year period of time. For instance, I know that there's a 2% performance. What percentage of employees do not get their performance 2%?
You mean that they get the lump sum?
They're,
They wouldn't fall.
they're fair.
They didn't earn it.
Which will be,
Oh, that they don't meet expectations.
correct. I'm just
They're
curious.
merit-
The reason I ask is
Yeah,
full
merit.
disclosure.
Yeah, okay.
Sometimes I've seen it, you in our own municipality where for many years in a row, it's at 100%, which then I question if it's merit or not. That goes away from my original question, but I guess I'm just trying to understand
Yeah,
that's a lot.
yeah, it's rare that, to answer the first question, it's very rare that someone may not meet expectations. And expectations are a 3 or higher on a 1 to 5 scale. But there are those times that, there's been 1 or 2 employees per year that may not meet the expectation. If that helps. And then as far as the increase, budgeted 2023 was obviously right around 10 million. We were under expended personnel, which helped with the overexpend in the operation in 23. And coming into this year, we, got that budgeted at 11.7. But you can see that we're down $1 million estimated going forward. So a lot of that under expand is MTP, right?
Is that with the increased fee in there?
The increased fee for,
Just that, we're having these projections going forward as if we're gonna have these bumps, is that the notion that we're gonna have this money going forward is that we
the revenue,
increase this fee?
yeah, the revenues are included, yeah, so
Okay.
that includes the 650. And then the expenditures is the adjustments for the wages that you approved in August, and then also the 4%, 2%. And then also in the personnel expenses, like, as you mentioned and pointed out, it's also benefits.
Yeah.
Everything's rolled up into that.
Yeah.
For this particular illustration.
I just know that it's hard to keep up with that annual ongoing increase, and we're dealing with it in our own city. We're on tracks probably like 700,000 increase, and then it goes to $1 million on compensation. And I know that our residents aren't spending $1 million more a year in sales tax revenue that we're going to be getting. So anyway, I know we've talked about this for a long time about compensation. It's just, sometimes it's hard to see the big number when it all comes final of how it affects everything. And frankly, I ask that in the way of, if we do have this increase, it's part of wondering how long how much time can we just buy ourselves compared to the increase with wages and us having to continue to raise the fee?
And I think that one would be illustrated on the cash projection.
Pam, can I just ask one question? This projected 12 million, does that include the slight reduction of the PTO? Because we're switching over to a different PTO, which will reduce the liability of worker to some extent. Will that be shown there? It's not. So there could be a slight reduction.
Do we have an estimate, or have we talked about an estimate on what that reduction would look like? And it's hard to tell because there's a lot of hypotheticals.
Yeah, we talked about that
Okay,
earlier.
All right.
It was an estimate of what we would have saved this year if we would have rolled it out. I think you said,
$165,000 was the amount that we would not have paid if that falls.
And then this, what we have budgeted does not include any kind of adjustment. Like you and I talked about for.
Yeah. Okay.
See, I was just gonna say, I was gonna say that for benefits, the insurance rate also went last year,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, quite a bit.
Huge increases, I know, for sure.
Yeah, I know that fed into that carryover in 2 years.
Yeah. Understood.
Matt, we reduced the heating cost here. Renee is covering costs and help save
I was
money.
literally, I was just gonna ask if she could hold my hand and for comfort.
We don't have the money. My budget for crying out loud.
No, I did.
You know, one of these days, we're actually gonna take that snippet and quote it. Yeah. You know, yeah. Have we answered your questions, Matt?
Yeah, and I'm sorry for the terrible questions.
No,
From the
these are all.
get-go. I just am, I think long-term of
Yeah.
the compounding effect, and obviously we want to take care of everyone that's here and works here, and we love all that you do. Well, knowing that if I'm going to be raising this on my family and those around me, that it's a pretty substantial fee, and I'd hate to come back because of that massive compounding effect of, you know, $3.5 million in a 2-year period of time, that is really hard to keep up with. And they're not easy answers to fix, which is why we don't have great answers to give. But
So, and I think that Board Member Owen also brought up that concern, and so I think it is worth looking at our compensation package and working with our consultant, Hazel, and telling them, say, is there something we can do differently, while still making sure we are fairly compensated?
I think everyone's in the valley is going through some of those
Yeah.
growing
Yeah.
pains that I've mentioned in the past, and we're moving some of our step programs from the civilians and looking at merit, is it actually merit? So
Yeah.
hopefully we have things we can learn in our cities and bring here and all be better for it.
Yeah, if we could, as municipalities and governments, be on the same page, so we're not all shaking ourselves together.
Yeah, because a lot of the time, I'll be honest, we
Amen.
want to make,
Amen.
we want to make a change because we feel like it's good governance, but then there's this fear of, but no one else is.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna lose every, you know, and it's a tough thing.
Whack-a-mole.
It is, that's right,
That might be a good county better.
for the good.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll get you the right.
Could you put the recipe in the minute?
For all austerity.
Publish that.
When you email out the minutes, send it to the record.
And they're complete.
Yes.
I don't know, let me find out.
Okay. Any comments, questions, concerns? And then if not, I'm going to open this up to our public for citizen comments.
You leave it right there in the chat. There we go.
You have a comment back there.
Yeah.
Well, when you're kind of taking, at balance position, they, you answer your question. Because you said you're gonna use 3.5. You're looking like you're gonna use 2. If I agree with people. So.
Chatham, if you can hear you. Would you mind just come on up and state your name and speak just a little bit louder because we record everything.
Okay, 1, 2, okay, so take a seat.
Hi, Jack.
Live in Mill Creek.
Mill Creek.
Okay.
And I think it'd be great for you to disclose what your former employment was.
Well, I was county auditor to 40 years. Got failure. I might have been sure to understand, that's right. And they did, so.
Good for you. Well, thanks for coming out
That's
tonight.
part of why, like, the two balances that really, or in that case, you have a large budgeted use of funds. And it looks to me like you're showing front setting, so it's probably that's.
Yes, that is actually true.
Please.
We were scheduled to use $3.3 million, almost $3.4 million of that position in fiscal year 2024. And we have not done that so far. We've used a little bit, but not quite a change numbers yet. We're not at the end of the year yet, but so we are doing okay.
Well, the increases you have related to the salaries and benefits, you're building up to providing more in 25. And it looks like really it's done pretty well. Saving some money during this year. So that as you go to next year, you'll be able to revenue And then expense that are pretty close to each other. After a year, so.
We agree with you. That's our goal.
Yeah. So on things like payroll, you're trying to adjust so many pieces at once. We'll never really quite hit them properly. If you do have some cushion that you can use if you have more total hours, you're really thought that you would pay for and benefits in that thought. So far, it's like a very good.
Thank you. Thank you. That's nice of you to come out and voice your opinion and tell what you're seeing based on your history. Thank you and experience.
Yeah, just another background, I'm quite involved with the Salt Lake City Rotary Club. And we're considering this annual committee, whether we want to try to tackle plastics and how they're disposed. It appears that today, that job's pretty much up to people that dispense a lot of grocery stores. Collecting those bags and other plastics. But it does lead to CO2. Processing the burning of plastic within. These are those old plastic bags. And we're looking at organizations that are involved in concern over plastics. And they're getting into water supplies. And they're getting into other places where you have toxic effects. Cheese is like a good deal, but really it'd be great for our environment, not to generate CO2 in the process of getting into plastic.
Well, hopefully we can continue having clean and pure recycling collected. So that's good to know about the Rotary. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. That's fascinating. Concrete made out of plastic. I'm into that. Okay, any other comments online from our public? Seeing that there is none, I'll go ahead and close the public comment portion. Are there any comments from our board members? Okay. We will move ahead then, and that business will continue with business items unless, Pam, there's anything else you need to add or would like to add?
No, ma'am, thank you so much. I appreciate your support and I appreciate our staff as always. Working hard.
Thank you. Amen. All right, continue with business item, request to proceed with ordering the 2025 capital purchases of side-load truck and the 2025 budget preparations. Pam?
If I could, as you may recall, it took us 2 years to actually do the truck.
You almost had to build it yourself.
Yeah, it does still take about 9 months, maybe even longer to get a side load once you order it. So I did want to request, proceed, we have on budget to purchase 8 side load trucks for the budget year of 2025. We still have the 4 diesels that are budgeted for 24. Those will carry over for the bodies of those trucks into 25, and we have that in the budget. We've made those adjustments. If I could get your permission to go ahead and place that order for the 8 side load, or if there's any adjustments that you would like us to make, we can certainly do that. But I would just like to know that tonight.
Yeah, question for you. So when we buy these 8, are we deficient 8 and we're kind of in the hole, or are these replacing 8 old that are being retired? And if so, what does that process look like? Can we make any money out of that retirement process at all?
We're hoping so. Actually, tomorrow we are going to have, David, remind me, is it 6 side loads that are going to go up to auction? Something like that. These are replacement trucks, right? And so, yeah, we hope to have some money that we can fetch off the auction at the vendor that we contract with through Salt Lake County Fleet. It's JJ King. and they're gonna hold an auction tomorrow. There's at least one of those trucks that's 10 years old. This is the first time we've been able to try to sell a truck for 2 years as well.
Yeah.
So we're hoping you all can put out the good vibes that, we're gonna sell some trucks that will help that revenue.
Yeah, marketplace.
Everybody gets.
How many trucks do we have right now, and what's the number that we try to get to at one time to have on hand?
We have 66 cycle trucks that are allocated. During this year, we actually had 66 at one time because we had 10 coming in and trying to get the 10 out. So those are coming back down to 56. And that's where we stay in those allocations. So as those new ones come in at the beginning of next year with those come out and putting them out for sale again. And then the 8 that we're gonna order will come in, we hope, by September of next year.
Been a long 4 years.
Board member Pinion has.
Well, I asked about this every once in a while, but the one up in Mill Creek is still there. Is that on our books or is it the new owner's books? The machine that suffered the fire?
Yeah, it's, we need to get it towed. I know we want to put it out. I believe, is that the plan, David?
Yeah, it's no longer on the books.
Okay.
They see it often.
Yeah.
Robert, next time you come down, could you just hook that to the back? Bring that down, that would decrease our expenses on that.
Have you seen this car? I don't think so. I'll take that too.
Yeah.
If my car was there, but.
Do we need to make a call to the company though, who it does belong to now and let them know it's still there?
Oh, no, they know.
You're gonna
By the way.
enforcement about this, you may want to do.
Or kids coming up. That's fine.
They're waiting.
All right, so
If we have it in our budget, are you looking for a motion?
Yeah, we would
Yeah, we
order
need,
them, but we actually wouldn't make a payment until next year.
so we need I'll take a motion on that we move forward to capital purchase of 5 load truck.
I'll make that motion, yeah.
Anyone second?
Second,
Second.
or either one of us, which order we fit it in.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion passes. And we need to confirm the dates, the next board meeting and budget adoption scheduled for Monday, December 16th at 9 a.m. Everybody okay with that date? If so, I'll take a motion.
This Keith, I'll make that.
Keith? Anyone second? Greg? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear no opposition to that. 5.3 board nominations for the 2025 board chair. I think we're going to do that next month.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to move that to our board meeting on December 16th. And then Katarina, do you have the 2025 calendar?
Yes, so we turn the packet, left page. Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Okay, the board meeting is scheduled for the 4th week of each month. With the exception of May, which we will be moved to the 3rd week on the holiday. A separate invitation will be sent for the November meeting and public hearing on Monday, November 17th at 6 p.m., as well as a separate invitation should the board choose to meet Monday, December 5th.
Okay, comments? If there are none, I will take a motion on that. Second, Sherry and Lori, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are set for the next year. Okay, there is no need for a closed session tonight. Any other board business? Awesome. Yeah. Absolutely.
I know that we all have significant other spouses and family members that support us all the time and everything we do. And my lovely wife Renee is here. She's also a refrigerator. She's a good baker as well, so, but I do want to recognize she's also a public servant, just like we all are. And she has served 38 years for the US government, the federal government, in the Department of Treasury. And she's about to embark on retirement. So,
Thank you.
Where did all our money go? Okay.
Good. All right, requested items, adoption 25 budget, general manager's report for our December meeting, adoption of human resource policies for PTO. If you have any questions on that between now and then, reach out to Pam or one of us, or Rachel, or Hazel, or Helen. And there is the adoption of resolution 4433, recognizing Trace Soundrup, quality assurance inspector, retiring after 21 years.
yeah. Yep, so I think I have Trey convinced to come to the board meeting, so they should meet him. Very dedicated, so.
21 years, I hope so, that would be. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No one? Good. Robert, you got good job.
Yeah.
Like,